All right, folks, it is certainly a pleasant and wonderful day to be before you this afternoon. It is the Marketplace and the Jumpstart TV. And we come to you live and also rebroadcast on several platforms. My name is Anthony Weeks, and my colleagues are both Linda Dorman and Carolyn E. Howell. And we welcome you to the program. Ladies, how are you doing today?
There I am.
We're doing really well. It's so nice to be with you. It's so nice to be here for our viewers and our listeners. So great to see you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. We have great weather. And we are both 2 shots and fully vaccinated. I had mine yesterday.
Yeah, I don't even want to. I don't get me started with this whole vaccine thing, and it's becoming just a little bit too confusing.
How so?
Because what I don't understand, people are of the opinion that because they've been vaccinated, somehow they don't need to wear masks anymore. Yeah. Or they don't think that they can infect anyone. And clearly the vaccine is only, it's what you call it, a therapy to help you reduce the severity of the symptom of COVID, and hopefully you won't die. But it does not prevent you. It does not prevent you from catching COVID, and it doesn't prevent you from, affecting someone else or, spreading COVID.
So what we're saying, the more you get the vaccine, the more our social behavior around protection breaks down because we want to be out.
Everybody's so, and I get it. Everybody want to get back to norm. But at the point is, you still, we're not out the woods yet. I mean, India now, there are countries around the world. I mean, their situation's they're out of control. And if we're not careful, if we become complacent, we're going to go right back to where we were because people are thinking somehow, because you've been inoculated. So therefore I don't have to wear masks. I don't have to do anything. And I'm confused. That's the confusion. I don't understand. There's a messaging problem there. That's what I am confused by.
There's definitely a messaging problem, but Anthony, too, you live in a climate that essentially is the same. You have a kind of a median temperature that remains the same all of the time. We live in an area where we get our seasons, and normally in spring we want to emerge anyway. So that's a battle that we have. So now that people have received the vaccine, now that we've lived an entire year with COVID, what I'm hearing from people is their desire to just break out the way they do in spring anyway. And with the temperatures elevated, they feel like we can go, we can run, and they're doing all those things. Time after time, people are coming out of their cars unmasked. They're forgetting to put them on to go into a store, and we still have a mask mandate in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So it is a challenge.
And I am so guilty of that. I've gotten to the front door, looked at watch people look at me a little strange and thinking, oh, okay, and hello, feeling as if I have the mask on, only to realize I hit the door and they're looking at your mask, ma'am. Needing to walk back into the car.
And it happens.
But you're right. It's a breakdown. There is a need.
Happens to me. It happens to me. I'm noticing now that I'm now forgetting my mask a lot. And so there's a psychological mental barrier thing going on that now if you got the vaccine, everybody's thinking now I don't have to social distance. I don't have to wear masks. And at the end of the day, mask wearing is still the number one line of defense from spreading COVID.
Right. Yes, and especially with us having allergy season, There are people sneezing inside their mask. I was recently in the grocery store, and it seemed like 2 or 3 people are sneezing, and I don't know if they're sneezing from COVID or sneezing from an allergy, and I don't want to find out. So at least a mask does offer that line of defense. So yeah, it is a challenge. People are weary, but we can't give up. Linda and I were talking to a business associate in Canada the other day, and he said, we practically have martial law. We are
Yes.
almost on lockdown here. So it's not making the media, except for extreme cases like India, but things are really bad.
Yeah.
And I do worry in terms of India, in terms of the traveling air pollution from the funeral prize. I mean, this is a cultural requirement. It's to be honored, centuries old. But yet we clearly have, I think, an ongoing public health issue that I don't know how they're going to reconcile that against those kinds of cultural norms.
Well, the thing is, what people are not understanding, they're under the impression that COVID pretty much is somehow they're new variants to COVID.
Yes.
And there just doesn't seem to be any stopping as to how this thing is sort of, morphing into whatever it's morphing into. But it is becoming, once it has kind of, once it realized that we have become immune to it, there's a new variant to it.
That's distressing to know. I mean, but we do hear that. We've heard about the UK, the South African, things that are happening in Brazil. We obviously are getting the latest and greatest from India, and how it is as if they're worse off than they were a year ago. And even more so because they're strained, everything from, catastrophic accidents like the oxygen tanks blowing up and, nearly 100 people perishing in that, and untold numbers being injured. I mean, it just goes on and on. And, I think overall, eventually we are a resilient being. We're resilient in our ability to face it, to deal with it, to either to continue to manage through it as best we all know how. And then if we have the pleasure of living, up to 100 plus, just to be able to look back, hopefully we will see this as an isolated couple of years, as other pandemics, in fact, experience. Time will tell.
All right, well, let's not take up any more this time. I think I always look forward to Candace being on the show because she brings a certain joy and excitement to the show. And so I don't want to have this doom and gloom discussion. And, it's
not doom and gloom. It's good.
I'm just saying, it's depression. It's depressing. It's depressing. Confusing and depressing.
Oh, don't say that. Here we go. Well, all of a sudden, don't you feel radiant all of a sudden with that smile?
and with
hey, Candace. Hey, Candace.
Hey,
what's going
Anthony, Carol, and Linda. I'm sitting here listening to you guys. Not so much depression, gloom and gloom, but this is probably one of the few times I would say it is what it is. And you really have to redefine your normal. That's a good way of looking at it when you're talking about what's going on and new mandates about the mask. Just like I told my tribe today, you just got to be mindful. You really got to take your own personal well-being and your family into consideration when you're doing it. Again, reading between the lines of what's going on with it, I think it's just an attempt to get more people to take the vaccine. That's just my attempt on what they're trying to do. Because if you look at the mandates that they said, you can take it off if you by yourself. Well, you always take it off if you by yourself. If you're outside running, if you're exercising by yourself, you can take it off. If you're within your immediate family members, you can take it off. So it has always been like that. So I think this is just an attempt with that little thing that simply says, if you take the vaccine, you'll be able to do more of these things, because on the inside is just on the outside. on the inside, they're saying you still got to wear the mask in the store, you know, in the theater, in the gym, everywhere you go that's inside, you still have to wear the mask. But I say use your own discernment when it comes to this, because like you said, Carol, this thing is worldwide, and it's still pretty bad. People are dying, the different variations. We have made history once again with this.
Yes.
But understand that that mask and your hand washing is your best defense. And just like we're going to talk about today, there's some security systems that you can build up in your body that heads all of this stuff off. And right now, your mask and your hand washing and staying social distancing is your security system for your well-being right now.
And I'm gonna add in, yes, I'm going to add in still focusing in on immune strengthening nutrition and supplements and other, lifestyle changes like meditation. I got my kids finally to sit down and meditate. And that was I didn't do it. Actually, one of their contemporaries, let's just be honest, I couldn't get them to meditate. But one of their contemporaries showed them the benefit of mindfulness. And so for those who actually practice that, it has some residual effect, I would think, because you're reducing the stress and you are not impacting your immune system. I've had shingles before, so I know what stress will do to your immune system in a big and mighty way. So if we continue to practice those, yes. Yeah, that was tough.
Well, we absolutely, Candace, we want to thank you for being here. You helped us kick off 2021 by really helping us understand that there's so many things that we can be well. And when we bring you on every single month, it's to look at a different facet of the things that we can put together, sort of a toolbox of what we can put together, composite way that we can move forward, as Linda was mentioning, and be healthy. And we're going to be focusing on the importance of sleep this time. And this is one of the few things that we will skimp and scrimp on, but we appreciate all of the discussions we've had with you. But we're going to zero in and talk about this topic of sleep. So why don't you hit it from the top and tell us what you think you want us to know, and let's get this discussion going.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I do call, all these points that we talk about, I call them my wellness locker. So Jilly, when I come here every month, I'm just giving you a different key where you can go in and open up your well-being. So sleep is such a huge part of it. For those of you that know me, don't know me, of course, I'm Candace Camille, the wellologist, owner of Candace Camille Enterprises and the Sexy Fit and Well movement. And one of the things about it, teaching everybody that I come in contact with that meals, movement, and mindset is the very thing that's going to keep you well. So you got to move, you got to eat right, you got to sleep right, you got to meditate. So even talking about these 8 different things that we come on and really, really tear it apart based on what you have to do. When I look at them, I look at Dr. Sleep as one of the most important, did I say most important things that you can do for your body, and we skimp on it. You hear a lot of people say, I'm going to sleep when I'm dead. You absolutely correct, because you're going to reach death before you reach the top if you don't go to sleep. Because a lot of the times we're not really operating at the top of our potential simply because we don't get enough sleep. So I always say, you know what? You're dying before you reach the top simply because you don't want to do what's necessary to keep your body from not failing you. If you are not sleeping, your body is failing you. You are failing your body. And I'm going to get into some of the things as why sleeping really is your security system for your body.
Okay, so
security system for your body.
You spew out, and I mean that in a very positive way, so many nuggets of information. I just want to slow down for a minute and just ask you, did you say Dr. Sleep?
Absolutely. It's a doctor. Come on, y'all.
Okay, so
that's right.
So
you have to think about it in those
Dr.
terms.
Sleep is the way you have classified the importance of sleep.
I think that is so true. And I, for a long time, did not put a real priority on sleeping. As a matter of fact, I felt that if I could just basically take cat naps in the night, that I would, if I wasn't using as much time to do the work that was assigned to me or I assigned to myself, that I was shortchanging something other than my health. I didn't make that correlation. And
Well, you don't
obviously
think your
over
health
time.
as important. It's not
Mhm.
important as you're working. So, and that's the little limiting belief that we get stuck on, and that's with all of us. But a lot of the time, our practices, you hear folks say, Carol and Linda, my body's good on 4 hours of sleep. My body's good on 3 hours of sleep. But it's a
Mhm.
bad habit. It's something that you created. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct, that it's right, because
Mhm.
you have actually taught your body to just go to sleep. But what you have done was taught your body to decrease your immune system. So you hear a
Wow.
lot of
Oh.
things about your immune system. So you're teaching your body to decrease your immune system, to lower your vibrations, to lower your frequency, to lower your immune system. So what you have done is you have opened up the gates. Let me explain that. Your immune system is just like we got the security systems on our door, right? Like I
Mhm.
know if you come in your house, you arm your system when you go to bed because you don't want any intruders in your house, right?
Right.
So
Correct.
you have to look at, so if you don't arm your house and you leave the door wide open, you are
Open.
inviting havoc into your house, right? Same difference when you do not go to sleep. If you do not go to sleep, that is your security system. Sleep
Mhm.
is the one thing that's going to keep the intruders out. But you got to arm it. So when you arm it, you go to sleep. So that means that you have to get a bare minimum of 8 hours of sleep. And I'm going to say that is a bare minimum because even when you talk about the scope, 7 to 9 hours of sleeping as an adult, that we actually need. But as an entrepreneur, we don't do them. So we are weakening our defenses in our body. And that's why so many diseases is going on. Because listen, when you don't sleep, diabetes,
Mm.
you don't sleep, cancer. And I'm going to tell you my story and how I got cancer because
That
I
is
didn't sleep.
remarkable.
Heart disease, inflammation, all the things that we're dealing with that we think is chronics, a lot of it comes out of you're not practicing sleeping.
Wow.
And sleeping enough hours to have a full, not only restful sleep, but a recovery based sleep.
Well, you're talking
Is
about
that
REM
correct?
now. So you're talking about
Mhm.
rapid eye movement. But I'm
Mhm.
just talking about for y'all to get in the bed. Get your butts in the bed. You know?
But what happens if you're tossing and turning? All of a sudden I've had this little bout return of insomnia and I can't figure that out. You
Well,
know,
that has a lot to do with your hormones. That has a lot to do with your practices. That has a lot to do with the light. You got all the lights. You got the TV, the computer, the phone, all the blue light. I mean, hell, if you just put light on your hand, it will interfere with your melatonin production. Our melatonin, which, oh my God, is like the power hormone, is that it is produced when we are asleep for like the
mm,
first 3 to 4 hours that you were asleep is when you get your melatonin production. So if you don't go to sleep between the hours, and I'm going to dare say 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., if you're not in the bed by that time, your body is not recovering, it's not rejuvenating. You have literally let the intruders in. And in our bodies, what the
mhm.
intruders look like is like little Pac-Man. Y'all remember the Pac-Man game?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so
they
you
ate
know
up
how the
everything.
Pac-Man, and you
Yeah.
had to eat all the things to get to your next level. Well, you're letting the intruders in, and what the little Pac-Man is doing is eating your cell. Like Pac-Man, we call free radicals. They're eating
Yes.
you're eating your good cells, and you're not having the ability because you have not gone to sleep to introduce melatonin to rejuvenate the cells, to get rid of the bad cells, these billions of bad cells that we have in a day, so you can get new cells for your next level of thinking, is because you haven't go to sleep. And cancer is that one thing that is eating, and that's why so many incidents and so many different strains. I think the last research I did on it, it was like 13 to 17 new strains of
Wow.
cancer, and that has a lot to do with our decreased immune system.
Wow.
So you said something, and I'm wondering, Candace Camille, the wellologist, which I love that term, so I want to say it. I heard something, you talked about the billions of bad cells that you accumulate that die off during the day, and you get your rest, and then you have those free radicals that are eating up that versus the good cells. Is that why we're to drink water before we go to bed? Is there something to that? I'm just trying to figure out because
water keeps your blood pressure down. It ain't got nothing to do with sleep. I mean, with
okay,
anything like that. But drinking a glass of water before you go to bed, that's on when you're talking about keeping your blood pressure down and your heart. So that's just part of your heart health. And so is sleeping a part of your heart health. So even when we talked about the doctors, so we talked about Dr. Nutrition, Dr. Hydration, Dr. Mindset,
Dr. Sleep,
Dr. Sleep today, all these things is Dr. Movement. All these things is what you do, but to sleep is one of the most important because that's where you get ready for what's next, right? So a lot of the times we can't get to our next best because we have not rested, we have not slept the way that we're supposed to. So again, I love the term security system. You're letting the intruders in, Carol. So even when you think about it, like, because I know I've talked to you, and as we go through menopause, it is hard to go to sleep. You got sleep deprivations. So you have to prepare for sleep. So there's some things that you have to do, especially as women, like why I call myself a wow. I'm just a wise older woman. That's a wow.
A wise older woman.
I'm a wow.
What? I love that. Wow.
Sometimes I get really wild, and I'll tell you, girl, that's just my wisdom kicking in. Simply because at the end of the day, you have to be wise when it comes to you, because even though we have all these cookie cutter things that's happening that we hear about, that we read about, that we get so confused about, I want to leave you with this. My 1 + 1 don't equal your 2. So what works for me may not work for you. You gotta find your thing. So Carol, what is your thing? You got to figure this thing.
What's your thing, Carolyn? What's your thing?
Candace, it's so funny because when we first brought you on the show, you sort of did a quick synopsis of everything, and sleep was the one thing that really resonated with me, because during the fall, in the business that Linda and I are involved in, there's one business that we work on together. We were just keeping ridiculous nights, and sometimes we were on the phone 18 hours a day and just transacting business through the night because we were talking to the other side of the world. And after that show, you really scared me a lot about some things. So I realized I needed to reinstate my bedtime ritual, which is a bubble bath. And I am not one of these people that want the bubble bath with the roses. Please don't put roses in my bubble bath. That is a waste, and you got to pick them off. But it's a bubble bath. But the other thing is,
wait! Don't discount the roses.
Oh no!
Wait! But don't get the plastic silk roses. If you don't put some roses in your water, you might as well get yourself some real rose, because there is an essential oil called rose that's in the real rose,
which is cool.
And once it hit the hot water, oh my God, you got all these feminine. It's like rose uranium. It's like the best thing. So no, girl, get you some roses.
So I do the bubble bath. But the other thing I did was, you had mentioned the light. So I noticed that in our bedroom, we have a large TV, but it has we've got a DVD player. We've got the television set, that the FiOS box, and then we've got the volume box, and they each had a tiny light on it that became like the light on a train. So we cover those up. If you were to come in our bedroom anytime after like 8 o'clock at night, those are covered up. And I replaced the blinds in our bedroom because we have shades. I replaced them with room darkening shades that are behind our drapes. So our room goes black and we go to sleep.
And that's the way it's supposed to be. If I was to give any tips, so for those of you that are out there listening, Carol just reiterated what we talked about a long time ago. It's the same tips. You know, you cover your lights up. I say take the TV out the room. You know, I always say, you know, it's just supposed to be some, if you're married, some S&S in the in the bedroom. Nothing else. Just some sleeping sex. Other than that, you need to be getting the TV out. You should be laying in bed, you know, having the TV between the sheets with you, simply because you're compromising, you know, you're compromising your health and not even realizing that. So the room darkening shades, shutting the lights down, covering up your boxes, you know, shutting your cell phone down, moving away from the computer, you know, and I would say at least an hour before you're getting ready to go to bed. So you have to prepare the bubble bath, you know, whatever you want to put in it. If you want to put some oils in it, I simply say put lavender in it, put some bergamot in it, something that's going to take your heart rate down and then slow your breathing rate down. That's going to take you down. So a good hour, it's time to turn all of that stuff off. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. So 8 o'clock, all the lights go out. You know, I got my turmeric tea and ginger. I'm just warm, you know, taking it down. I use it in coconut milk, you know, so for the whole thing that, you know, your grandmothers used to tell you, drink a warm glass of milk. You know, that's simply because it lowers the heart rate. It lowers everything down, and it's getting you ready and prepared to go low so your melatonin can come out. You can even take some melatonin, you know, take it after dinner. So if you're going to bed at 9 and 10 o'clock, you can literally, your body will start going down and getting you ready. But most of us, especially like you said, as entrepreneurs, we got to move away from work. Listen, it's going to be there in the morning, but if you keep these practices up, maybe you won't. You know, so that's
a good point.
yeah, so that's one of the things about it, is that, again, we're doing business in the countries and the difference in the time zones. We just got to figure it out. I always say everything is figure outable, but you really shouldn't compromise your health for money. And that's exactly what most of us, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I know that. I absolutely, you know, being the wellologist, I came in the game knowing better. See, because I wasn't always there either. So even my story, my cancer story, you know, I'm a cancer conqueror of just about almost 3 decades now, 30 years out, you know, so I kick cancers behind. But you always sit back and say, where did this come from? Because I got throat cancer. I wasn't a smoker, you know, I didn't do any of that stuff. But when you look at your practices, so when I look at my life, so when I go back and look back, all the setbacks that I had, and when I got cancer, I was in my 30s. But what happens in your 30s is a result what goes on in your 20s. So when I look back in my life at 20 years old, you know, my life story from horrific to terrific, I have been dealing with challenges.
Wait a minute.
Okay, from horrific to terrific.
Listen, let me tell you something. You have just gotten to the top. We're getting ready to get that part of the roller coaster. We are coming up on the top of the hour. Anthony's going to be popping in a minute. We have got to hear from, can you say that again?
Horrific to terrific.
Horrific to terrific.
Horrific to terrific. Well, you have got to hold that piece until we're going to finish this last half out. Just
talking about that
gone through, because that's amazing. Because and horrific is a word that I've heard used more often than I would like to by so many people. So to be able to see you here, and I'm looking at you, and I'll call them Michelle Obama arms, with those fabulous arms, and then your sexy fit and well movement and all of those things you do to get people moving and shaking. I can't wait to hear this story. So I know the minute we let you talk about it, Anthony's going to pop his face in. So we're
pop right in and say, but he's probably writing his notes down because he would have been in here by now.
Write the notes down, because you talk about some of the things that you need to do. You know, I love the recap when you're talking about the doctors that you absolutely need to visit daily. Because think about it. If you visit these doctors, you know, you will only now go to the doctor just for your checkup, for your doctor to say, you know, chick, you all right, dude. You
Yeah.
are okay. So that's because you're doing your thing. So if you visit, you know, Dr. Spirit and, you know, we'll talk about these later on, but Dr. Meditation and Dr. Nutrition and, you know, Dr. Hydration, Dr. Air and Sunshine. We started that with being outside. You know, Dr. Fun, Dr. Social, Dr. Sleep. These are all the things that you need to be doing daily, not once in a while. I said daily. Every single day. Have your conversation with your higher power, right? Have your conversation with your higher power. Who are you plugging into? Who's your source? I mean, everything else is a resource. So that's what you do.
Here he is.
Here he is. Anthony, we're ready for the top of the hour station break.
Because we're going to keep talking. So.
Yeah. All right. Listen, you know, I'm understanding that, like you said, there are just certain things you got to do to mitigate some of the things that kind of compromise your immune system. And so I'm going to probably fail at all of them, but I understand.
No, you're going to get the wellologist. You're going to get Candace Camille's book and write some stuff down. That's going to help you.
I'm hearing Candace saying she goes to bed at what, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'm like, what?
Lights out at 8.
What?
She goes to bed at 9. I know you're afraid you're going to miss something, Anthony. You're just starting up the muse by then.
Gosh.
But you know, again, it's habits that you build up. This is one of my habits, because think about it, Anthony. I'm out the bed at 4:45 every day. And I mean, I literally start work at that hour. Yeah. So in order to be able to give you my best, I'm a high performance trainer. So in order to perform high, I have to make sure I got high performance habits. So making sure I go to sleep at night. So when I get up in the morning, I can give my tribe, you know, my best. My work, my best. But most people, I'm up working, moving, and you have not waking, you're not up yet. So whatever 8 hours you choose, 7 hours you choose, that's your 7 hours. But if you going to bed at 12 o'clock and getting up at 5, dude, bad habit.
On that note, real quick.
Dude.
All right, folks. We'll be right back after these messages.
The reopening measures are slowly taking place amid the coronavirus pandemic. Malls and restaurants are working again, and factories move more and more of their personnel back into the offices. However, that doesn't mean that people won't get sick anymore. On the contrary, there are now many more chances of spreading the virus even farther. To protect the employees and clients of your business, we developed Thermo Control screening stations. It is a quick and safe solution. Thermo Control measures temperature at a distance of 25 centimeters. The device is autonomous. It does not require an additional employee to conduct temperature measurements or log the results. It can measure and even recognize masked faces. All of the results are logged automatically and stored in the database. You can use the station to ensure your clients and employees access to your building automatically.
John Smith, Rombach.
The station can issue entrance passes and grant access to the building after it measured the person's temperature. If the visitor's temperature is high, a notification will be sent and a potential carrier of the virus can't access the building. Thermo Control can send SMS and messenger notifications, as well as notifications over email. Temperature measurement technologies allow businesses to ensure the safety of people and potentially save lives all over the world.
If you're a small local business and you have not yet applied for your PPP forgiveness loan, you should know the deadline is fast approaching, and you need to apply now before May 31st, 2021. To apply now, go to www.applyppp.com.
That's it. You got it. You got it.
If
That's
you
it.
don't have this
Well,
book, you are not in the know.
and then you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know
Don't
what
know.
you don't
There it
know
is.
and until you do. The problem comes in when you know what you know and you don't do better. See
Uh-oh.
that in lies the problem, because if you don't know, you don't know. But when you know and you're still operating on a hope and a prayer and praying that it's not going to happen to me, you know, you're going against your own odds with it, when you can just take the time to do something like now, you know, do something now, you know, for your well-being. But it boils down to what do you want? Do you want to feel better? Do you want to get off these diseases? Do you want to release the weight? So it boils down to, a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, Carol and Lyndall, my first question to them is like, hi, how you doing? And you know, glad to see you, you know. And then I get to this point where, you know, why are you here? And you tell me your spill. But my next question is, okay, Carol, what do you want? How do you want to feel?
How do you want to
What is it that you are on the hunt for? And let's figure this thing out for you, because if you don't know what you want and where you're going, it'll be hard for me as a trainer, as a coach, to help you get to that
Get there.
destination. So you got to want to go to sleep. So that it is something that you got to want to feel better. See, you, like you said, you only know what you know because this is the habit you have created for now. So you only know that way to feel. Imagine if you decide tonight, you know what? I'm going to bed and I'm going to get myself 8 hours sleep, because I'm going to prepare that hour. I'm going to drink my warm milk or my warm tea. You know, I'm going to take my melatonin. I may even get me some valerian root. It's just a natural herb. Something that's going to, let me just be clear, not CDC. I'm talking valerian root. It's such a thing, right? That you drink, you know, at night to prepare to go to bed. So it doesn't matter what
Valerian root
to get there. Valerian root tea. So it's again, it's I think it's a derivative of diazepam, you know, back in my medical days. So one of the things about that is that even if you have to use an aid, and I'm not talking about sleeping pills right now, I'm talking about natural aids that you can use right now, that's going to help you get to where you want to be. See, that's where you want to be. So now that you know these things, you figure out what works for you. But at the end of the day, you get to decide if anything you learned here, anything you heard here, any nugget that you picked up, how are you going to put it inside of your life to make it better? And that's what I did over years. Like I said, when I was in my 20s, you know, when you think about my story, my setbacks, you know, I mean, I was an abused child. So you come from those beginnings where, you know, going from being an abused child and then living on the street, you know, living on the street, I lived in a phone booth with a daughter of my own. So I was homeless for a very long time. So during that homeless period, you know, I'm in my 20s. So you're not thinking about sleeping. Actually, you better stay awake so nobody won't kick your butt, rape you, take what you got and go off. So you literally didn't get a lot of sleep. Me and my daughter lived in a phone booth. I mean, just so she can sleep, I had to keep one eye open to make sure nobody came into the phone booth. We didn't have the best diets, you know, there was. I mean, I was eating out of garbage cans. I was hoping that the pizza man throw out a pizza waiting to get, so we can get something to eat while I was still in school. Because I told you I was this geek and smart. Nobody knew I was homeless. I was still going to school with my daughter, doing the things, but we still was in survival mode, right? And then outside of the phone booth, you know, again, you meet some characters on the street. I met a character. I thought I met a man, thought he was in love with me, loved me, but this man beat the hell out of me for 4 years. So now on to domestic violence, right? So again, you're in there, you are beat down to the ground, your mind is gone, your self-confidence is gone, your self-integrity, your self-esteem, you know, you are just paralyzed. Because when most folks hear of domestic violence, the first thing they say to you is, Why didn't you go? Go where? I'm
Right.
paralyzed. You paralyzed. You
You
can't
can't
move.
go.
You can't go. So you're
Yeah.
paralyzed because it goes right back to what you said, Carolyn. You don't know better, right? You think, okay, but sometimes going to your next doesn't necessarily mean it's better than what you had before. Because I damn sure went out of the frying pan into the fire. I went straight into hell inside of this relationship. So again, staying there, but again, coming back around.
Back out. Yeah.
You know, going around there, you know, I had to run him over. I had to damn near kill him to get him out of that.
Oh,
situation.
mercy.
So you are in a mindset deprivation. You know, you are in a straight up, you know, fight or flight mode. There was nowhere to go to. So you just stay and you fight and you create, you know, a plan. But here's what happens when I tell you that's the horrific part.
Yes.
And then it turned terrific. See, because I think I saw something on TV. I was always a reader. You know, I read something and I saw these women, these absolutely beautiful Black women, and they were thriving. And that's why you never know who's watching you or whatever. You know, I would see women that was, I couldn't tell what was going on in my life. You know, you were embarrassed. You didn't want judgment. You didn't want anybody to know. I couldn't tell them. But after reading and seeing these women, I got this epiphany moment. And this is where it pivoted. I believe now that I deserve better.
Yes.
That I was not supposed to be in this situation. I was not supposed to be letting anybody, you know, do this to me. I mean, even when you talk about, you know, from the domestic, the generational curse, it happened to my mom. You know, I went back there trying to get help. She sent me back because that's all she knew, knowing what you know. But in that one moment, I believe that I deserve more. And you know what? I cultivated a plan to get me and my kids out. Because by that time I was there for 4 years and I had another baby. So I had a son. So I had to cultivate this plan to get us out. So again, you figure out, you just don't, I had nowhere to go. So you had to come up with a plan. As much as we don't like to talk about money, and I think Les Brown said it, try living without money for a few months and see what happens. You need
Then
money.
you start talking about it. Yeah, you start really
you know
talking
what?
about it.
You
And
need
you know what?
money.
And Candace, when you think about it, so when I hear, and I've heard your story before, every time I hear it, it gives me chills. Horrific to terrific. I just never knew those two adjectives, if you will, to put with it. And thinking about the fact, when you said everything is figure outable, because there's some people today, and I know we're talking about the importance of sleep. There's some people that are saying, I can't go to bed at 9 o'clock. I don't even want to. Good shows come on later. Well, that's why they have DVRs. But you said everything is figure outable. So if we really want to reclaim our health and we really want to reclaim that security system of ours, we can listen to your story that is just mind-blowing and realize that this could be a path for us to figure out, how can I get myself in the bed and sleep 7 or 8 hours? How can I do that?
And you know
Well,
what?
it boils down to this. It boils down to what you just said, Candace, and that is you made a decision that that epiphany really was the most significant of a series of decisions that actually looked at the future as saying it won't always be that way. You know,
And you
and
know
that
what?
epiphany, you started to line up, you know, the resources probably started coming to you once you made that decision.
No, it didn't. It ain't that easy. Don't even think to say this. No. You just say I deserve better than that. But
Wow.
no, it does nothing.
But then how did you, what were your steps though? Tell
this
us,
is what I'm
once you made that decision, then what?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. This is why the plan has to be cultivated. So in other words, you know, I was living with a man, you know, again, who was a drug dealer. So he sold drugs, you know, he forced drugs down my throat to keep me in line. But at the end of the day, when I say you have to cultivate a plan, now your plan that works for you. My plan was to get him to trust me, where I can get a hold of the money, because I knew that I need money. So even in that moment, I had to become the drug dealer so I can get the money. So again, I came a part of his business. Now that he trusts me, I'm in it. Back then it was a series of selling pills or whatever the case may be. And I had to do what I had to do, counting pills, bagging them up, collecting money. For every $100 that I got, I took 20. So I was pushing money, saving the money up, cultivating my plan to get to where I want to get to. Because when I went out to go get help, I went to the welfare system. They treat you like crap. And I was like, I don't want to be over here inside of this system. I told my daughter, I'm never going to have anybody treat us like this again, simply because we need help. Because they made me feel so bad and insignificant. They, at the system that you go to that was supposed to be giving you help, was the very system that treated me just as bad as this man did. And I was like, I don't want to be there. So I'm going to have to do something different than to have to worry about getting this little $127 a month for you to treat me like this. So I did what I had to do. He trusted me, and I gathered my plan together. I stayed for like another year, saved so much money, cultivated my escape, got my children, had the money. I got out, went back to school, became the respiratory therapist. It took me 1 year, became the respiratory therapist, and started taking care of me and my kids. And that's when life got really good. So now the terrific part of it comes where, again, I met a man that I married, that I was with for 28 years, that he absolutely adored me, taught me how to love myself with it. And life was really good, for a few years. I'm going to say for about good 6 years. After that, life was really good. But then I got diagnosed with cancer. I was running to work and speeding. Car cut me off. I hit my head. And I went to the hospital, and they said, we see something on your throat. You need to go check it out. Long story short of it, it was cancer. It was malignant. And one of the things, to bring it right back to sleep, is like, how did this happen to me? How did I get this cancer? I wasn't, smoking. I wasn't drinking. But when you go back and you look, I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't drinking any water at all. Mountain Dew was my water. So it was a matter of, when you look at your
all that sugar,
when you look at your past practices, and what you did, when the body settles down, now it's going to come to fruition. And that's what came out of it, because I didn't go to sleep in my 20s, barely ever. Even from a little kid, we didn't go to sleep because we was worried about if my father was going to come beat the hell out of us. In the phone booth, you was worried if somebody on the street was going to come and get you. Then I lived with this man, same thing. You had to keep one eye open, simply because was he going to rape you, do what, beat you, what? So it wasn't a lot of sleep that was going on. There wasn't a lot of health practices. I had no health care plan. All I had was trying to stay alive. But beating the cancer, when I learned about these 8 doctors, and you say, how did you get here? I've been practicing these 8 doctors for the last 30 years of my life. So once I kick cancers behind, and you say, well, how do you do that? Through food, through movement, through good sleeping habits, through drinking water. Those are the things, setting my mindset. So there was 3 books that got me from that to that terrific place. Number 1, the Bible, because by then I had found God. Let me tell you, because he wasn't part of my life back then.
But you will find him.
I find him. You find him, but somebody got to show him to you. Had a girlfriend that showed him to me. So and then I let him in, because you got to let him in. See, again, another decision. You got to let them into your
That's
soul.
Dr. Spiritual.
That's it. Let them in. And then Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's still part of one of my Bibles. It's a great book. And my 3rd book that I still read to these days, these 3 books I still hang on to. They're part of my discipline. And when you have your plan, that's what it is. I call it is my disciple plan. So it's discipline. So in the other book is Back to Eden. simply because it shows you how to eat well. So it still goes back to the same thing. So how I got the throat cancer from not smoking, but I was out in the streets. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I wasn't doing anything to really take care of the organs in my body. And generally when cancer sets in, it comes, and this is where the meditative part comes in, right? So my throat chakra is my fifth chakra. That's where my energy, that's where my communication is. So it shut it down because I needed to reevaluate and change some stuff and build that part of my body up. That was my weakest link back then. Again, I was obese because I'm eating anything under the sun because you didn't know when you were going to get back to eating. So I was about 220 pounds. So I ate today as if there was not going to be a tomorrow because I didn't know if I was going to have a tomorrow. So you always have these things. So remember, wherever you are, whatever decade that you're in, you're practicing for the next decade that's going to show up. So when I kicked cancer's butt and I started visiting all of my 8 doctors, as we went through this, I now start to get better. You can always begin again. Wherever you are, it does not matter. You can always begin again. So you can go from your horrific to terrific if that's where it is. But you just got to make that decision, that one aha moment, that epiphany that I said, I deserve it.
Wow. So, Candace, let me ask you, for our listeners and our viewers, you've mentioned the 8 doctors that you use to keep you healthy. I have Dr. Food, Dr. Movement, Dr. Sleep, Dr. Hydration, Dr. Spiritual, Dr. Meditation. I think I'm missing 2.
Dr. Sleep.
You got Dr.
You
Aaron.
have Dr. Sleep. Okay.
She has that one. Dr. Aaron Sunshine.
Okay.
You got to get outside. You know, our bodies don't manufacture vitamin D. We get it from the sun in a supplement. No other way to get it from. And also Dr. Social. You have to have the connection.
All right.
Those are the 8 doctors. You got to get people around you that care about you, you know, that love you. Love is that healer of all things. You know, right now we're missing the hugs and all the things that go with it, but those are the 8 doctors. But sleep, I found out, was the most important, and you really have to prepare. And in the Sexy Fit and Well movement, this is what I teach all day long, because without this, you cannot be the best that you can be. Without this, you will die before you reach the top of your potential. Think about it for a second. Chadwick Boseman, you know what? Cancer 30. If you read his story, he talks about where he did a lot of his filming and it was all at night. He didn't go to sleep, right? So now you're talking about these celebrities or these wealthy people that have money. Money is not that important because when you're dead, you're dead. So even at the end of the year, for all of his money, everything that he had, he couldn't beat this thing called cancer, simply because of some of our bad habits. Now, some of the listeners will say, you know what, it could be part of your DNA, you know, it's in your family. Yeah, all of that stuff is true, but you can get to change that stuff. By visiting these 8 doctors, you can change what you were predisposed to. We're all predisposed to that stuff, but you can really change the dynamics of it. Look at Stephen Jobs, cancer, same thing. This man worked 20 hours out of a day, right? But again, he died before he reached his potential. You know, look at Michael Jackson. He took stuff to stay awake because he wanted to keep on working. He died before he reached the top of his game, the top of his potential. There's so many others that goes through this, that if after reading some of their stories or hearing some of this, if it's not enough to change your mind, then I don't know what is. It boils back to then that's something, And this is going to sound a little harsh. This may pinch a little bit, but it's okay. Because as a wellologist, I'm a good pincher. I aim to pinch you. I want it to hurt. And I want it to hurt so bad till you're ready to change it. Till you're ready to change it. So if you decide you don't want to do nothing, nothing is going to change, then you get what you get. And that's exactly how it is, simply once you know. Our grandparents says, when you know better, we do better. So now that you know, so my question I'm going to leave you with, and this is like one of my little mic drop moments. Anybody that's on here that ever heard me, what are you pretending not to know?
What are you pretending not to know?
Wow.
So in other words, are you in, is if we had a one word, what would that one, would that be denial?
No,
what would
that's
the one?
Stupidity.
So so your one word is stupidity.
So it's stupidity. I mean, you know what you're supposed to do. Why aren't you doing it? You know, that's when it begs the no, I'm not calling anybody stupid. But if you look up the word stupidity, look at what it is when you know something and you're not following through on something that's good for you. That's a decision, a bad choice, but it's not following through. And what you're saying, Linda, is that I'm okay where I am. And even as the wellologist, when I work, and I've worked with some people like that, I've fired some people like that I've worked with. And I will simply say to you, I'm not the coach for you. Because if you don't want to change and you don't want to do the work, you are wasting my time. And it's the most valuable access that I have. So if you don't want to do it, I don't even want your money, because one of the things I learned about money, all money ain't good money. So I can't have you pull me down your rabbit hole. See, I need to pull you into my calm. As the wellologist, I'm not going to let you pull me into your chaos. You hire the wellologist to pull you out of the chaotic situations that you have gotten yourself in. Obesity, right? Diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, pain, inflammation, low confidence, low self-esteem. If you're doing all of this, see, that's my area of expertise. If you want to get out of there, this is how we do it.
Wow, Candace, let me just say this. We had Dr. Barbara Hutchinson on. She is board certified in both sleep study and cardiology. And she focuses on, she said so many people who quote unquote die in their sleep. There are so many other issues. They die in their sleep, but not because they were getting good quality sleep and things like that, but because they weren't caring for these other areas.
Yep.
Anthony, we see you back on.
It's the top of the hour. It's that time.
Already? Oh my God.
I understand this. I just want to stay engaged.
This is one of those shows that we barely talk and ask questions. I mean, we get so much content that it's just very exciting.
To be continued. Good thing is she's a regular contributor, so we'll look forward to having her back.
Yes.
All right, folks. All right, so thank you so much, Candace, for your contribution to the program today. And we are going to now go into our second segment of the program on business, economy, and public policy. The University of the Virgin Islands Research and Technology Park will be our guests. And so, ladies, tune in. If you can't, we will talk soon.
Great. Thank you,
right.
Candace. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Anthony.
Bye.
Bye-bye.